The Memphis Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins yesterday. And even though I've been advocating for him to be fired for a long time, I have to say the firing did surprise me simply because it was like only several games before the regular season finally ends. Usually, if you fire a coach, you do it a lot earlier in the season, at least to give the team some time to adjust. I would say probably the latest you should fire a coach is like 20, 30 games before the season ends. So they have some time to figure out the team and gel with the chemistry, with whatever the new coach is running. Just that's the way I feel it should have been done. But the Grizzlies apparently felt they couldn't wait any longer and they had to fire him. Let me just bring up why I thought Jenkins should have been fired like 2 years ago. I even made a big video of this like 2 years ago in which I felt that he should have been fired. And this was like 2 years ago. I would say probably sometime in March or early April, I believe, of that year. It may have been a little bit even earlier than that. But I remember watching a Miami Heat game with the Grizzlies. And during that game, Dylan Brooks shoved a cameraman, which I thought was very stupid. There was another play where Desmond Baines punched Kevin Love in the nuts, which I thought was another stupid, immature play right there. And Ja, like always, I believe in that game, was just playing out of control. So I started thinking deeply about this. I was just like, how come this team mentally just cannot make the right decisions? They do stupid things despite being talented. They could just never get together mentally. And then I started thinking about how this is like the coach's fault because the coach is the one that dictates the conduct of his players and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And Jenkins cannot control this locker room. And thus, he has no control of these players. So these players feel that they can run over him and do whatever they want. And this is why you have a team that does a lot of stupid antics, as what the Grizzlies were doing 2 years ago with him being in charge. And I felt that long term, this could not work out because the players don't respect him. And when you lose their locker room, you can't really do anything with a team because the players feel they can do whatever they want. And that's not championship winning basketball in the sense when players feel feel that they can run a freestyle offense and just not be held accountable for anything, just do whatever, then, bad things are going to happen and things are just going to fall apart. Hence the problems of the Grizzlies the last few years, this guy being their coach. Granted, to be fair to Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies haven't had Ja Morant for the last 7 or 8 games. And I just looked up their win-loss record since he's been injured with the calf injury he's been dealing with. I think it's a calf. I think actually no, it's a hamstring injury if I'm not mistaken. It's either a hamstring strain or a calf strain from what I was reading about it. But anyways, he's been out for like 7 games. And since that time period, they're like 2-5. So sure, you can blame Jenkins to some degree for that terrible record. But honestly, when you look at their schedule, they were playing a lot of playoff teams and teams that are fighting for the playoffs. So yeah, it was going to be a hard 7 games without Ja. And I think tonight he's not playing either. So that could be definitely another loss for them. Granted, I want them to win against the Lake Show. I'm hoping they can pull it off. But without Ja, it'll be very difficult. So I don't blame him for their recent stretch of them losing games. But then you might ask, like, okay, so the Grizzlies didn't have Ja. And it's understandable then that they would have a losing record. So why would they fire him then? Why would they? Just that's a good question. I think he was starting to lose control of the team even without Ja being there. There was this one incident I saw from a few nights ago during a game. I think it was during a timeout where Desmond Bain shoved Grizzlies player Aldama. Yeah, he shoved Santi Aldama just during a timeout. To me, I thought it was just very stupid, immature. Sure, players get into confrontations with teammates, but to disrespect your own teammate during a timeout and shove him, that to me was pretty stupid. But to me, that was just another example of how Jenkins just does not have control of this team. When stupid, unprofessional stuff like this can happen, like just that's a reflection on him. That I don't think this stuff would happen on a team that has a strong-willed coach that can really dictate just a code of conduct, and Jenkins can't do that. So I think that could have played a role in that too. Maybe they felt this was like the final straw when it comes to this type of nonsense of him not controlling the team. But then again, I was reading some stuff that I found very interesting that to start off the season, the Grizzlies GM, Zach Kleinman, fired 5 assistant coaches that Taylor Jenkins had and replaced them with assistant coaches that he wanted. The reasoning was because he wanted the Grizzlies to run a different offense. He didn't feel long term they could play winning basketball with the offense that Taylor Jenkins had installed, which was primarily pick and rolls and screens centered around Ja Morant. That's how the offense was run. And he wanted to run a new offense in which it would be a lot of motion offense, off the ball movement, and cutting, essentially. Just a lot of cutting and off the ball movement. That's what he wanted. And just constant passing, moving the ball around for the 3-point shot. And the Grizzlies actually were able to implement that new offense that the GM wanted. From what I'm reading in this article, that they were, I think, 6th in points per possession due to this change in the offense, that they were a team that used to struggle to get buckets, and they were having a high efficient offense. And then just recently, what's interesting is Taylor Jenkins. Well, let me just bring up this point before I bring up Taylor Jenkins, that despite the success of his offense, that Ja Morant, their star player, hated this new offense. He despised it. He did not like it at all. And from what I read, that at times he dreaded playing the game simply because he hated playing the new style offense. He didn't think it was suited for him. He didn't enjoy it. So recently, Taylor Jenkins started to go back to the old offense of running screens and pick and rolls for Ja, which drew the ire of Zach Kleiman, that he wasn't happy about it. And I think that kind of goes back to what I've been saying, that this man has no control over this team. And maybe Jenkins wanted to spite Kleinman, I guess, maybe just to play to get back at him. But it shows like he has no control in the sense that this new offense that they were running was effective. So why would you change it up? Oh, you got to appease your star player, which you have never been able to control with his immaturity and the hijinks that he does. So again, it shows that this guy has this zero control. He doesn't have a backbone to stand up to his players. I wonder if he really did believe in the old offense of running pick and rolls and screens. If he did, okay, I get it. He's trying to be his own man. He believes in it. But a large part of me thinks that he probably doesn't, and he was just doing it to appease Ja and just to be in good favor with him. And that's why he did it instead of standing up to him, because before Ja was injured, they were winning a lot of games with this new offense. So I don't get why you would change it then. It makes no sense. Maybe a Grizzlies fan could correct me on this and just has a different reasoning for that, but I don't get it. To me, it seems like it was successful, but yeah, it shows again he has no control, and I think probably that was the biggest reason why Kleiman fired him, because he felt disrespected that he was not running the offense that he wanted him to run, and instead was running the offense that Ja Morant wanted to run, and that was just the final straw, and that's why they canned him. So yeah, I don't feel that Jenkins is a sympathetic figure that we should all feel sorry about. Just he got what he deserved. I think he was spoiled to some degree. Just if you watch my old video, I talked about how he was lucky to get into coaching the NBA. It was kind of like a lottery path, in the sense that very few people would have been able to get into coaching the way he did, despite him not being a former player. He didn't even play college basketball. He just lucked out with an internship with the Spurs, and that built that pipeline like winning the lottery. Hence a lottery pathway. That's why I call it for this guy. But no one should feel sorry for this guy, and that's all I have to say about this firing.